My fiancée ended up sleeping with 3 random guys during her bachelorette weekend, and instead of confronting her, I disappeared without a word. What happened after that? It tore apart the perfect little world she thought she had. Ava and I were both 32 at the time, and we first met 7 years earlier, when we were 26. It happened at a birthday party for a mutual friend. I can still picture her laughing from across the room. Something someone said cracked her up, and I thought to myself, damn, that's the most stunning woman I've ever laid eyes on. She had this magnetic kind of energy, the type that pulls you in and makes you want to stay. By the end of the night, we were sitting outside on the patio, deep in conversation, talking about music, movies, travel plans, and dreams for the future. We started seeing each other a few weeks later, and 8 months after meeting, we moved in together. Life seemed pretty amazing, or at least, that's what I believed. Sure, Ava liked going out more than I did, hitting bars, partying with her friends, but I didn't see it as a red flag. I figured that was just part of who she was. I always thought we balanced each other. I kept things grounded, she brought the excitement. So when I proposed last year, I didn't hesitate. I really thought I'd found my forever person. She teared up the moment I asked and said yes without missing a beat. The months that followed were filled with wedding planning, venue tours, cake tastings, and debates over whether we should have an open bar. I believed we were building something real together. Turns out, I was way off. It all started to unravel because of a stupid package. Just a small delivery, but it changed everything. I wasn't even supposed to be home that day. My shift ended early, and I thought I'd surprise Ava by coming home and making us dinner. She was just getting back from her bachelorette weekend. When I got to our apartment, there was a gift bag sitting at the door. It was glittery, with a tag that read, "To the wildest bride-to-be, you deserved every second of it. Love, Brittany." At first, I smiled. Brittany was Ava's ride-or-die, loud, chaotic, addicted to drama. I never liked her much, but I tolerated her because Ava did. Still, the wording on the tag made me pause. I brought the bag inside and set it on the counter. Something about it wouldn't let go of me. After a minute of staring, I opened it. Inside were the usual bachelorette party trinkets, a cheap tiara, a bride's last ride sash, glitter, plastic rings. But at the bottom of the bag, I found something that stopped me cold, a pair of used men's boxers. I tried to convince myself it was a prank. Something dumb. A joke. But then I noticed the flash drive. I don't know why I opened it. Maybe because deep down, I already knew. There was just one file. The video started innocently enough. Ava and her friends laughing in a booth, raising their glasses, yelling over the music. She looked beautiful, but there was something off in her eyes. Too free. Too distant. The next clip was worse. Ava on stage at a strip club, grinding on a male stripper while the group screamed and cheered. I still tried to rationalize it. A wild night, nothing more. But then I saw her pull him off stage, laughing, dragging him toward a private room. I paused the video. My heart was racing. I told myself maybe she just went in and came right back out. But then came the last part. Ava was lounging on a couch, surrounded by 3 guys. They were drinking, flirting. One leaned in and kissed her, and she kissed him back. Then another. By the time the clip ended, she was walking arm in arm with all 3 into what looked like a hotel suite. And behind the camera, I heard Brittany's voice, laughing. "You're a freaking legend, Ava. Bride of the year." I sat frozen, numb, staring at the screen like my brain couldn't process what I'd just seen. This wasn't the woman I'd spent 7 years with. Not the Ava who curled up next to me on the couch watching cheesy movies. Not the one who said she couldn't wait to build a life with me. That night, Ava came home like nothing had happened, kissed me on the cheek, asked how my day was, and started rambling about Brittany's new wedding decor ideas, like her world hadn't just gone up in flames. I just smiled and nodded like everything was normal, but inside, I was completely gone. I couldn't even look her in the eye without that video playing in my head on a loop. I felt like a fool for not seeing it sooner. Were there signs I ignored? Did she slip up before and I missed it? Or was this the first time she crossed the line? Honestly, it didn't matter. The woman I thought I was going to marry wasn't real. That night, sleep didn't stand a chance. I lay in bed, eyes fixed on the ceiling, stuck in that loop. The images, the laughter, the way she touched them like I didn't exist. Every second of it felt like a punch to the gut. I wanted to confront her, scream, ask her why. But deep down, I knew none of that would change a thing. The next morning, Ava got up like it was any other day, all smiles, getting dressed for work. Before walking out, she kissed me on the forehead and said, Can't wait to see you tonight, babe. I smiled back and said, me neither. But the second the door clicked shut behind her, I was in motion. I didn't even stop to breathe. I went straight to the closet, grabbed my old duffel bag, and started throwing in the essentials: clothes, bathroom stuff, laptop, chargers. I wasn't coming back, so I didn't waste time deciding what mattered. The couch, the TV, the air fryer. She could keep it all. I just wanted out. Clean and fast. As I packed, it hit me. This wasn't me. I'm the kind of guy who plans out weekends, who makes lists for lists. But now I was throwing my life into a bag on instinct alone. I grabbed my phone and started looking for somewhere to land. A hotel felt too cold, too close to real life. I needed space, somewhere far, quiet, where no one knew me. That's when I found a little resort about 3 hours outside the city. Nothing fancy, but available that same night. Perfect. I booked a room for 10 days, paid the full amount up front, and didn't care what it cost. Peace of mind felt priceless. Before I left, I pulled out the wedding folder, all the plans, the deposits, the contracts, and dropped it into my bag. I wasn't going to pay for a wedding that would never happen. First stop, the venue. I called them as I locked the door behind me. Hey, this is Jake, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I need to cancel our wedding reservation. The woman on the line sounded caught off guard. Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. May I ask why? There was no way I was about to get into it with a stranger. Plans changed. Life stuff, you know. She mentioned a cancellation fee. 25% of the deposit was non-refundable. I didn't even blink. That's fine. Go ahead and cancel it. With that done, I got in the car and hit the road. I didn't look back at the apartment. The drive felt like I was floating through someone else's life. The GPS led the way, but my head was still stuck in that flash drive. I kept wondering, was that wild night a one-time thing? Or had she been hiding who she really was all along? About halfway there, I stopped at a gas station for water and some snacks. As I stood at the counter, my phone buzzed. I didn't need to check. I knew it was her. I ignored it. But the buzzing didn't stop. Call after call. Text after text. She must have gotten home and realized I was gone. I wasn't ready to hear lies, fake tears, or the usual, you've got it all wrong script. I silenced my phone and kept driving. The place I booked was small but perfect. Big bed, tiny kitchenette, a fireplace, and a deck with a view of the lake. It felt like another world. One I desperately needed. I dropped my bag, sat on the edge of the bed, and finally exhaled. A breath I hadn't even realized I'd been holding. That was the moment it all landed. This wasn't a fight. This wasn't cold feet. I had walked away from the woman I was going to marry, from our home, from the future we were building. And somehow, that decision brought clarity. I spent the rest of the day unpacking, but it felt like I was settling into a stranger's life. I kept expecting to hear her voice, to see her walk in and ask what I wanted for dinner. Every creak in the floor made me flinch. My body hadn't caught up with the fact that she was gone and wouldn't be coming back. Later that evening, I made a sandwich from the snacks I'd bought and finally checked my phone. 30 missed calls from Ava. 15 messages. At first, they were light. Hey babe, where'd you go? Did you forget to tell me something? Text me when you're back. Then panic. Jake, this isn't funny. Where are you? Are you okay? Why's your stuff gone? Please, what's happening? And finally, desperation. Please call me. Please. I don't get what's going on. Please. That was the last message Ava sent before I stopped reading. Instead of replying, I picked up the phone and called my parents. They've always let me live my life without interference, stepping in only when absolutely necessary. When I told them I'd left Ava and that the wedding was off, my mom's response was calm and simple. All right, sweetheart. Want to tell us why? I didn't go into detail. Just said, she's not who I thought she was. My dad jumped in after that. You did the right thing, son. Better to find out now than after tying the knot. They didn't press, and I was grateful. I told them I was staying at a quiet resort to clear my head, and they promised their support, whatever I needed. That first night in the cabin felt surreal. I kept imagining Ava bursting through the door, demanding answers, maybe even trying to charm her way back into my good graces. I thought about everything I'd poured into the relationship, the time, the effort, the sacrifices, the dates I planned, the money I saved, even how I kept the peace when it came to her chaotic best friend, Brittany. And for what? So she could throw it all away in one reckless night? By the time I got into bed, I was certain I wasn't going back. Not for her tears, not for her apologies, and definitely not for whatever promises she'd make to fix it. It was over. And strangely, I was at peace with that. Still, one thing kept gnawing at me, Brittany. She hadn't just stood by. If anything, she was the match that lit the fire. That flash drive didn't feel like some random souvenir. It felt intentional. Like she wanted me to see it. Like she was proud of what happened. And that note? You deserved every second of it. That wasn't just a message, it was practically a confession. Brittany had always rubbed me the wrong way. One of the first people I met when Ava and I started dating. Right from the start, she was loud, attention-seeking, always cracking sarcastic jokes, always needing the spotlight. Ava thought she was hilarious. I thought she was exhausting. But I tolerated her because Ava loved her. Looking back now, the signs were there. Brittany constantly dragged Ava out, even when we had plans. There were nights Ava came home drunk at 2 a.m., Brittany's voice laughing in the background, shouting something like, "Sorry for stealing your girl, Jake." I used to laugh it off. Now, it felt more like a warning I'd ignored. Sitting in that cabin, I made a decision. I needed to talk to someone. But not Ava. Not yet. First, I wanted a word with the person who helped light the match. I didn't want to call Brittany directly, so I downloaded a burner number app and sent her a short, vague message, just enough to reel her in. "Hey, it's Jake. We need to talk about Ava. Meet me at the coffee shop on 7th tomorrow at noon." She replied fast, less than 5 minutes. "WTF? Are you okay? Is Ava okay? What's going on?" I left her on read. The next day, I drove back into the city, parked a few streets away from the cafe, and waited. Right on schedule, Brittany strutted in like she was walking a runway. She wore one of her signature flashy outfits, hot pink blazer, heels that looked more like stilts, and, of course, sunglasses indoors. Classic Brittany. I gave it a few minutes, then walked in and sat across from her. She looked startled, then quickly flashed a big smile. "Jake, you scared the hell out of me with that message. What's this about?" I skipped the small talk. "Drop the act, Brittany. I know everything about the Bachelorette party." Her smile disappeared like someone flipped a switch. What are you talking about?" I leaned in slightly, kept my voice steady. "The flash drive. The videos. The gift bag you left at the door. I saw it all." She froze, then gave a weak laugh. "Oh, come on, Jake. That was just silly party stuff. You're not seriously mad about that, are you?" "Mad?" I leaned back. "That doesn't even come close. What kind of best friend convinces someone to cheat on their fiancé and then mails them a highlight reel?" Her face flushed. "It wasn't like that," she said quickly. "It was just one crazy night. No harm meant." I pulled out my phone, opened the folder of screenshots, and slid it across the table. Her texts to Ava were right there. "Bride of the year. You own that stage, girl. Don't feel guilty. It's your last chance to be free." She blinked, caught off guard, and pushed the phone back toward me. "Jake, seriously, you're reading way too much into this. It's tradition. Every bride deserves one wild night." "A tradition?" I raised an eyebrow. "That's what we're calling it now. Because from where I'm sitting, you were egging her on every step of the way." Brittany let out a sigh and leaned back, folding her arms like she was the one being wronged. "Look, I didn't force her to do anything, okay? She's an adult. She made her choices. And you were right, they're hyping her up." I snapped. "You were supposed to be her friend. Instead, you helped her destroy everything we built over 7 years." She rolled her eyes with a dramatic sigh. "Oh, please. She still loves you, you know. It was just one wild night. You two can get past this." That was it. That was the line that pushed me over the edge. I slammed my hand down on the table and Brittany flinched. "Get past this? You think I'm supposed to just shrug off the fact that she slept with 3 guys because you're calling it a one-night mistake? Are you serious?" She glanced around, clearly aware that people were now watching. All right, she said quickly, lowering her voice. "I'm sorry, okay? Maybe it went too far. But Jake, this isn't about me. It's between you and Ava. You're already knee-deep in it," I said, rising from my seat. I looked her dead in the eyes. "And believe me, Brittany, people are going to see exactly who you are." Her face changed. "Wait, what's that supposed to mean?" "You'll figure it out," I said, grabbing my phone and walking out. Driving back to the resort, my mind churned over what she'd said. She's an adult. She made her own decisions. And the truth? As much as I wanted to blame Brittany for everything, she wasn't wrong. Yeah, she hyped it up, maybe even orchestrated some of it, but Ava didn't have to go along with it. That part made me sick. I'd always seen Ava as a free spirit, maybe a little wild, but never reckless. Now it was clear. Brittany lit the match, but Ava poured the gasoline. Back at the cabin, I opened my laptop. I wasn't ready to confront Ava directly, but I knew Brittany would spin her version if I didn't act first. So I took a different route. I gathered everything, screenshots, video clips, text messages, and emailed them to a handful of people we both trusted. Not to gossip, just to keep the truth safe until I was ready to share it more widely. Brittany didn't reach out again after our meeting. No call, no text. I wasn't surprised. She knew there was nothing left to say. And frankly, she wasn't my problem anymore. Next on my list? Ava's parents. Let me be clear, Ava's family always carried this air of superiority. Conservative. Judgmental. The kind of people who could make you feel guilty for just breathing wrong. When we moved in together 4 years ago, her mom, Susan, acted like we were breaking a moral code. She never said it directly, she didn't have to. It was in her tone, her looks, the way she'd mutter things like, "You know, it's not really proper to live together before marriage." Her dad, Frank, was quieter about it. But every time the topic came up, he'd grunt something like, "Well, back in my day." Real subtle. But once we got engaged, everything changed. Susan was suddenly all in planning showers, calling me sweetheart. Frank even offered to help with a down payment on a house. I'd passed their invisible test by putting a ring on her finger. Well, now it was time for them to see who their perfect daughter really was. Ava was still blowing up my phone messages, calls, one after another. "Jake, please pick up. I know I messed up. We need to talk. I love you. Don't give up on us." Each one just made me angrier. She didn't get to cry victim. She made her choices. Then came a message from Susan. "Jake, what's going on? Ava's a mess. Please call me. We're really worried." I stared at it for a while, then made up my mind. Let them deal with her. If they were always so eager to judge me, let them finally judge their own daughter. Let them clean up her mess. The next morning, I got in the car and drove straight to their house. I didn't warn Ava. I knew she'd panic if she found out. Susan opened the door, and I could see the relief on her face the moment she saw me. "Oh, Jake, thank God. We've been so worried. Ava's been a wreck since yesterday." Inside, Frank was in his usual spot, reading the paper. He looked up and gave me a nod. "Jake, good to see you. Maybe now you can help us understand what's going on." I stepped in and sat on their too perfect white couch. "I'm here to tell you the truth," I said. "You're going to want to sit down." Susan looked tense, but took a seat across from me, hands clutched in her lap. Frank leaned in slightly, frowning. I pulled out my phone and opened the folder. "Ava's been lying. Not just to you. To me. The wedding's off, and here's why." Susan blinked. "What do you mean? What could she possibly have done?" I handed her the phone. "Watch." She hesitated, then hit play. As the video rolled, I watched her face shift, first confusion, then disbelief, and finally horror. "Oh my God," she whispered, voice cracking. "No. This can't be real." Frank stood abruptly. "What's going on?" he barked. Susan, trembling, handed him the phone. He watched in silence, his jaw clenched tighter with every second. His face went red. He looked like he might crush the phone in his hand. "That's what she did," I said evenly. "She didn't just cheat, she turned it into a performance. And her friends filmed it." Susan covered her face and broke down. "I can't believe this. I just can't believe she'd do this." Frank started pacing the room, fist balled. "That girl, damn it. We didn't raise her for this. What the hell was she thinking?" "She wasn't thinking," I replied. "And now she wants me to forgive her like it never happened. But I'm done. And you both deserve to know why." Susan looked up at me, her face wet with tears. "Jake, maybe you could just talk to her? Maybe she felt pressured." "No," I cut in. "She wasn't pressured. She had choices. And she made them. I'm not marrying someone I can't trust to stay faithful, not even the night before the wedding." Frank stopped pacing and turned to Susan, jabbing a finger. "This is what I've been saying. That damn Brittany's been a bad influence for years. I told you." Susan nodded through her tears. "We should have spoken up. We should have said something. Maybe if she hadn't moved in with you so soon." I couldn't help but laugh, bitterly. "You really think living with me was the problem?" I shook my head. "You've been so caught up in what's proper that you never saw the truth. Ava's impulsive. She always has been. Now she's paying for it." Frank sank into his chair, rubbing his temples. "Unbelievable." I stood up. "I'm sorry to drop this on you, but this is your mess now. She's probably going to run to you for comfort. Fine. You can deal with it. As I turned to go, Susan reached out and grabbed my arm. Jake, please, don't tell anyone else about this. Think about how humiliating this is for our family. That's what Susan said as I turned to leave. I gently pulled my arm free and looked her in the eyes. That's not my concern anymore, Susan. You'll have to handle that yourselves. Driving back to the resort, I felt something I hadn't expected: closure. For years, I'd lived under the weight of their judgment, always made to feel like I wasn't quite good enough for their perfect daughter. But now they saw exactly who Ava really was, when no one was watching. Later that night, another voicemail came through, from Susan again. Jake, it's Susan. I don't even have the words. Frank and I are heartbroken. We confronted Ava, and she completely broke down. She says she doesn't know how to fix any of this, and honestly, we don't either. I just want you to know we're sorry. Truly. If you ever want to talk, we're here. I didn't even hesitate. Deleted. Let Ava handle her parents now. Let her explain what she did. I wasn't about to be the buffer anymore. I was done being her emotional cleanup crew. And the truth? The fallout didn't take long. After I dropped the bombshell on her parents, I made a decision. People needed to know what really happened. Maybe it was a little petty, but it wasn't revenge. It was about not letting her rewrite the story, painting herself as the poor, misunderstood bride. I wasn't going to let her quietly bury the truth. The first person I reached out to was Lauren. She and Ava had always been close, not as unhinged as Brittany, but still in the mix. I recognized her face in the video, laughing and cheering along with the rest. I wasn't giving her a pass. I sent her a blunt message. Lauren, I know everything that went down at the Bachelorette party. I've got proof, texts, videos. Don't play dumb. We need to talk. She called me in under 10 minutes, voice shaking. Jake, what the hell? Where did you get this? Does it matter? I said. You were there. You saw everything. She stammered, then said, I didn't know it was that bad, okay? I thought it was just dancing and harmless flirting. You didn't notice when she disappeared into a room with 3 different guys? I cut in. You seriously had no clue she cheated on me, right in front of you? Silence. For a second, I thought she hung up. But then, softly, I'm sorry, Jake. I should have said something. But I didn't think I could stop her. She kept saying how boring everything had gotten. She wanted one last crazy night before settling down. Brittany was the one pushing her. Ava just went along with it. I almost laughed. Went along with it. That's your excuse? No, Lauren, she didn't just go along. She chose it. Over and over. And you stood there and let her. She tried to defend herself, backpedaling. I didn't think it was my place. It was your place, I snapped. You're her friend. A real friend doesn't let someone torch their entire future. She didn't say much after that. By the time we hung up, she'd apologized again and promised to talk to Ava. I didn't expect much. The next part came without me doing anything. Apparently, Ava's parents tore into her the moment I left. By the next morning, she'd called me more than 30 times. I ignored everyone. Then Brittany messaged me, and she was pissed. Jake, what are you telling people? Ava's a wreck. Now everyone's acting cold with me. You need to cut this out. I couldn't help but grin. So the queen of chaos was finally sweating? Good. Let her stew in it. I didn't respond. Silence was the best answer. And then things got even better. Lauren, clearly trying to save herself, began to back away from the whole situation. She told some of their friends she hadn't known the full story, and if she had, she wouldn't have gone along with it. Whether that was the truth or just damage control, I didn't care. The dominoes were falling. By the end of the week, the whole friend group had started to fracture. Ava went from being the life of the party bride to the person nobody wanted to be associated with. Even her inner circle was unraveling. Then Haley, one of our mutuals, reached out. We were never especially close, but she'd always been decent to me. Her message surprised me. Hey Jake, I just wanted to say I'm really sorry for everything you're going through. I had no idea Ava could do something like that. If you need anything, let me know. Meanwhile, Ava was still trying. The messages had slowed down, but they kept coming. Jake, please. I know you're angry. I know I messed up. But can we talk? Please. Just tell me how to fix this. I'll do anything. It was hard to read. Not because I felt bad for her, but because it was clear she still didn't get it. She wasn't sorry because she regretted it. She was sorry because she got caught. She wasn't sorry because she regretted it. She was sorry because her world was falling apart. And not long after, the fallout between her and Brittany finally exploded. What started as a quiet disagreement turned into a full-blown shouting match. Apparently, Brittany had had enough of being thrown under the bus and snapped. She told Ava straight up, "Don't act like I forced you into anything. You were all in. Stop playing the victim." Haley texted me about the whole thing. "Brittany and Ava aren't even on speaking terms now," she wrote. "Brittany's going around saying Ava used her as a scapegoat. It's getting ugly." I won't lie, there was a little satisfaction in that. Brittany had spent years acting untouchable, always stirring chaos, always spinning the story in her favor. But now, it was all collapsing, and she was finally catching some of the heat. The last update I got from Susan was that Ava was spiraling. At first, I assumed the usual crying, pleading, breakdown mode. But then the whispers from mutual friends painted a darker picture. Apparently, after my visit, Susan tried giving Ava a reality check. Ava didn't take it well. She blamed me, said I'd ruined her life over one mistake. That didn't land with Susan or Frank. They'd always been about appearances, and now that the truth had seeped into the community, their perfect image was cracking. And when they realized Ava still wasn't owning any of it, that was the last straw. They kicked her out. Literally. Packed her things, left them on the porch, and told her not to come back until she learned what accountability looked like. I can only imagine Susan saying something like, "You've embarrassed this family beyond repair." Naturally, Ava turned to Brittany for help, but that bridge had already burned. After their blowout, Brittany made it clear she wasn't offering a place to crash or getting dragged into Ava's mess. Haley told me Ava reached out to other friends, hoping someone would take her in. But most had already pulled away. Lauren didn't answer. Everyone else stayed silent. No one wanted to be next in line for the drama. By the end of the week, Ava was basically homeless, bouncing between couches and spare rooms wherever she could find a temporary spot. Then came the financial crash. She'd been working a cushy office job for years, one Frank helped her get. He pulled strings, and she cruised. But once her parents cut her off, Frank made it clear she was on her own. Word was, her boss had already flagged issues, showing up late, missing deadlines, doing the bare minimum. When gossip about the scandal started circulating, management saw her as a liability. They let her go under the excuse of department downsizing. Everyone knew what that really meant. When Haley told me Ava lost her job, I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a little vindicated. It wasn't about revenge. It was finally seeing consequences catch up to someone who'd spent years coasting while others picked up the slack. Eventually, word got back to me that Ava returned to her parents' house, in tears, jobless, and out of options. She begged to come back. Said she had nowhere else to go, no support left, no money. But they didn't cave. Susan and Frank had made up their minds. No job, no home, no one left to lean on. She'd officially run out of lifelines. That's when the messages started up again. More desperate than before. "Jake, please. I have no one else. I'm sorry, really. I am. I lost everything. Please let's just talk. I'll do anything. Just tell me what to do to make this right." But I never replied. I wasn't going to let her pull me back in just because she was drowning. She chose this path, and I had nothing left to give her. A week later, I heard from Mark, a mutual friend who always kept things real. "Dude," Ava called me crying, asking if she could crash at my place, he said. I told her flat out, this isn't my problem. She needs to figure her own life out. Mark wasn't being cruel. You just saw through the act, the way I finally had. He knew better than to get pulled in. Eventually, Haley told me Ava scraped together enough to rent a tiny room on the rough side of town. Some rundown building, barely enough space for her stuff. She used the last of her credit card balance just to cover 6 weeks' rent. She ended up taking a part-time job at a nearby coffee shop, just enough to survive. "She's really struggling," Haley said. "I don't think she's ever been this low." What caught me off guard the most wasn't what Ava did. It was how quickly everyone turned their backs on her. For years, she'd been the heartbeat of her friend group, organizing get-togethers, planning birthdays, making sure everyone stayed connected. But the second she needed support, no one was there. Brittany? She completely checked out. "She's not my problem anymore," she told people, not a hint of remorse. Lauren? She cut Ava off entirely. Said the drama was too much, and she didn't want to deal with it anymore. Even Haley, who had tried to stay neutral for as long as possible, eventually stopped replying to her messages. Ava had burned through every relationship she had. And now, she was standing alone, left to piece together the life she'd wrecked with her own hands. I'm not going to pretend I didn't feel anything watching it all unfold. Satisfaction? Yeah, maybe a little. Not because I wanted her to suffer, but because it proved something. Choices have weight. She'd spent years leaning on others to clean up the messes she made. But this time, no one showed up. There were no more safety nets. Now, she was finally living with the consequences. As for me, I was healing. Day by day, the weight lifted. The pain, the betrayal, the noise, all of it started to loosen its grip. Each morning brought a little more clarity, a little more peace. Ava was out there somewhere, trying to rebuild from rock bottom. And honestly, that's exactly where she needed to be.